Alright guys, moving on to our next Patreon request, and this one comes from Tom Hibbert, who asked me to do a story involving a full-on fight between the Red Hood and Junko Enoshima. So we got a Batman Danganronpa crossover here. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon where you guys can hit the third tier. That'll allow you access to send me Patreon requests for me to do here on YouTube, as well as all the access to the other stuff on the other tiers as well. But other than that, hope you all enjoy this, and let's get started with the video. So, this story begins with, basically we're in the Gotham City, like, limits. Like, we are in the suburbs of Gotham, the outside of the city, and it's weird because normally, outside of a few things that happen here and there, there's nothing really happens that nothing in Gotham that happens in the suburbs. So every so often, like, something weird or disturbing will happen, but nothing too major happens in the city of Gotham, like in the Gotham suburbs, except tonight, because the Gotham PD got a call regarding a domestic disturbance, but it was a little different, and they actually, instead of getting Batman, they instead got instead were requesting to find Jason Todd, the Red Hood. So Jason shows up, and he's a little weird. Like, the cops are kind of leery about him because they do remember he did cause a reign of terror in Gotham like a couple years back. So a lot of cops do remember the reign of terror he caused in the gang war that he erupted with Black Mask and getting Joker free again, just so he can act as a little revenge party. But he's part of the Bat family, so people just kind of give him a step back. And it's actually Jason himself is pretty, like, weirded out by this, because even he's like, well, I don't know what they want me to do here. Like, I genuinely don't know what the situation is. So, like, this feels weird. Like, I'm usually not the one they call. Like, they'll call, Bruce is here first and foremost. Like, why is it me? Like, so he thinks it's probably something Joker related, but instead, what he finds and what the cops tell him is like, yeah, you're the Red Hood, yeah. So we were told not, the message said, don't call Batman, find the Red Hood. And he's like, okay, why me? So they reveal that this, the head of the household, the father, regular guy. He worked a regular 9 to 5. He came home. He had no criminal record or whatsoever. And then tonight he just went off, took a shotgun, blew his wife's head off, then proceeded to take said shotgun and not shoot his kids, but beat them to death with the shotgun before taking his life after calling in the cops. But before he did, he said, tell the Red Hood that she's looking for him. And he's like, she? You mean like Harley or something? Like what is this? And they're like, well, we don't know. We were hoping you could tell us. And if they ask for you specifically, do you have like a rogues gallery? And he's like, I don't have a rogues gallery. I have a body count. And they're like, oh, we know that. So Jason is like, can I see the body? And they're like, yeah. So everyone, like all the cops and the forensics, everyone there, they're treating Jason differently because obviously they know his background, and obviously he does kill people, and they're like, the only reason we're letting you do this is because Batman vouches for you, but a lot of us remember what you did when you came here. So Jason is like looking over the body, and he does know his forensics, but even he notes, I'm no Batman. I'm not Bruce. Like, I know he taught me enough with forensics, but there was some things I just couldn't cover. But I do know, like, if someone snaps like that means, like, someone normal, like, here in Gotham, it's like a fucking curse. Like, it is a straight up, like, this city just does something to you. But he's like, what? But who she is? Like, Ivy might be like, it could be Ivy's poison toxins, but that doesn't make any sense. But as he's looking over it, he does like take. It's like, I'm gonna need a blood sample from the body just to like go over it. So he does, and he actually calls Barbara. He calls like Barbara, and he's like, I'm gonna send you a blood sample and see if this is like Joker toxin or Ivy's like plant toxin. So she sends it. So she scans it and is like, this is a kind of toxin I haven't seen before. Like, it's almost like someone took Joker's. Like, it almost took Joker's toxin and modified it, but this is something completely different. Jason, you know what's going on? He's like, no, but I've got let's just say I've got apparently a new secret admirer, and more bodies start piling up and it's like it's just everyday people. Like, it's just everyday, no records, no priors or anything, just going nuts and causing these disturbances, and Jason is the one that's being targeted. So Jason is like, even as the message, like, even Batman is starting to like try to intercede, but like there's one person before they off themselves says, if Batman gets in the way, more people, like twice as many people will die. So Batman is forced to step out, but he is like over the shoulder, even telling Jason, look, if this bit gets too much for you, and Jason's like, what, you'll step in? He's like, I don't want you to, like, whoever's doing this is trying to bait you, obviously. I don't think you... He's like, yeah, I realize that, Bruce. Someone is obviously trying to goad me into being what I once was. But you should trust me enough to know that I won't do that. And he's like, I do. Batman actually trusting members of his family rather than, secretly implanting a security measure to make them have some kind of weird fear toxin that makes them afraid of picking up a gun. That totally wouldn't be a plot line in a Batman comic, right? Right, Gotham War? Anyway, so, but he, Bruce does tell them, I'm here if you need me. He's like, and Jason just says, like any good father would be, you're helicoptering. You're being a helicopter dad. And he's like, I do for all my sons. So Jason continues to look through these records and whatnot. He's even even goes to Barbara. He's like looking over the notes, and he's like, something like all of them just have like these regular notions. But then he goes like, hey, wild guess, but they all seem to snap from stress. Can you look over something for me? And they actually go over that, yes, all these people were taking, Barbara goes over medical records, and all of them were taking antidepressants, specifically one brand of antidepressants. So Jason goes to the manufacturer, and he finds that the lab is normal. There's nothing weird going on, but he does notice that there is something weird with the pills themselves, and that's when he he's talking to one of the pharmacists at one of the scientists who are at the pharmaceutical plant, and he's just like, has anyone tampered with these drugs? And they're like, no, we don't think we have. And that's when suddenly, a gun goes off and the guy's head just explodes right in front of Jason. And he's like, holy shit, fucking sniper, get down. So Jason has to, duck and dodge to get to this sniper. And it's Mukuro. And he's like, I don't know who this girl is, but she has got some serious military training. She's pulling off shots that would make Floyd Lawton blush. So Jason gets up there, Mukuro's up there. He and Mukuro get into a fight. She does get away, but but with a little help, because there's a certain pink-haired girl that's in a helicopter and just proceeds to get a lift for Mukuro, and they take off. And that's when Jason he does have a recorder in his helmet, so he sends the data to Barbara. And he's like, Barbara, do you know who this is? I don't know. It's some weird, some chick that crawled out of the nearest hot topic. I don't know who this is. And they're so Barbara goes through the facial recognition. Is like, you need to call Bruce, and you need help. And he's like, why? Because he's like, that's Junko Enoshima. And he's like, okay, what's wrong with that? And she goes, Junko Enoshima was a fashionista, but something snapped in her, and maybe it's just always been there, but like, she's responsible for like over 500 deaths in Japan. Her sister was part of a terrorist organization called Fenrir. She's an expert soldier. If they are called they're called the Despair Sisters. They're dangerous. Jason, you need help. And Jason's like, look, if I get in the way, like if Batman gets in, more people are going to die. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? And he goes, I'm going to solve the problem. So Jason does track Junko down, and Junko's been like outside of Gotham, her and her sister, and they actually like Junko welcomes Jason into her base, and she's like, I'm so happy you finally figured it out. I've been I've been messing with the Joker toxin and putting it randomly in antidepressants just so I could get them to feel what they've always felt, despair. That's what I'm all about. I'm the ultimate despair. And you, Jason, are just like me. Like, I wanted to get your attention specifically. I put out those little crumbs out there so you could, prove that I could find, that you could find me. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I told you, you're like me. Like, you were born out of the ultimate, and he also realizes that she's calling him Jason. He's like, how do you fucking know my name? And she goes, oh, I figured it out real easy. Bruce Wayne, Batman, Tim Drake, Robin, Dick Grayson, also Robin, now Nightwing, Barbara Gordon, who I'm sure is listening, is Oracle / Batgirl. You want me to keep going? I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not a fucking idiot. I know who everyone is. It took me like a month to figure it. Now, granted, it did take me a month to like put the pieces together, but hey, I needed a brain teaser and I was bored. But you, Jason, out of all of those boring assholes, you are something special. Like, you were born out of, you were born out of despair. The real you. The you in front of you. You were you represented hope for your city alongside Batman. Even you were Batman's hope when when the first Robin went away. But then the Joker, brought you into a state of rebirth. You became like me. You became all about despair. But now you're trying to pretend you're not. Rubber bullets, tasing, breaking bones, putting people in comas, that's not you. That was never you. Like, you need to be, and she's like, I need a king to my queen. And you, Jason, are that king. Like, you are that king of despair. So Jason is just like, you are fucking crazy. And I thought, and he goes, and I thought, so you want me to be the Joker to your Harley Quinn? And she's like, ew, no, relationship overrated. Harley and Ivy are goals anyway. But you, Jason, you've been just lying to yourself this whole time. I want you to wake up from this dream you're having that you think you can be accepted back into the Bat family. Like, I want you to realize and remember who you really are. And he goes, what I'm going to remember is how I'm not going to think about you the moment I stop you. The only thing I'm going to think about is how well I'm going to sleep tonight after beating your ass. And she's like, we'll see. Hey, sis, can you help? And that's when Mukro comes flying in to try to attack Jason. They fight. Junko jumps in, and she's actually holding a crowbar. And there's a quick second where, like, Jason has that moment where he sees a crowbar and he just, like tenses up for a second. Because, again, crowbar bring pain. So Junko and Mukuro, dogpile on Jason. They're fighting. And Jason's like, holy shit, these guys are good. Like, I thought, Mukuro was the muscle and Junko was just the, Junko was just the brains. But no, she's just as good as a fighter. So Jason has to fight both of them. And eventually, like, Junko gets a good shot in, knocks Jason's helmet off, and is like, there he is. There's the Jason I know. There's my future king. And Jason, like, reaches out and, like, just fucking, like, as she's, like, trying to like hold his head and like tries to kiss him, he bites her lower lip, and it's just like, ow, that hurt. I love it when you play rough. And he's like, I don't, you know, I'm not in the mood for psycho. You know, I'm not in the mood for a psycho ex-girlfriend. You bring up a lot of red flags. And that's when they're fighting, and Jason loses one of his guns in the fight, gets it back, but he goes to shoot thinking it's a rubber bullet, but ends up shooting Junko in the stomach. And she's like, oh, did I mention I switched the bullets out when you weren't looking? Damn. And she's just having a great time, because she's like, feels good, doesn't it, to have a real bullet, you know, in your gun, you know? And he's just got the gun to her head, and he's just like, if I let you go, you're a bigger evil. You could be a bigger evil than Joker. And she goes, I know, you know, I always strive to be the best. And if you kill me, then, you know, all I'll feel is despair of defeat. And all you'll feel is the despair of killing me, but then you'll feel joyful again. And he goes, so you're saying I'll be full of hope of being what I once was? And it almost creates like a paradox for Junko, because then she realizes if she makes Jason again the way he was, he'll be, you know, he'll be full of hope of being the monster he once was, and it's still bringing despair, but then it's also creating hope, and it just gives her like a paradox, and it just freaks her out so much until Mukuro like has to go jump in, wound Jason, grab Junko, and they escape so she can, you know, patch up Junko's wounds. But by the end of it, Jason leaves, and that's when Batman's, you know, arrives on the scene with the rest of the Bat family, because Jason went dark. And Batman's like, you know, I'm proud of you. I don't say it enough, Jason, but I'm proud of you that you didn't, you know, cross that line. He's like, but Dad, and he actually calls Bruce like, but Dad, God help me, I wanted to so bad. How, like, now I know what it's like. He has that moment of like, I wasn't gonna hesitate. If I had a second more, I was gonna put a bullet in that bitch. But he's like, then all of that 1 second is all that matters, that stops you from being like her. So Jason leaves, but he's still like got that like notion of, I should have pulled the trigger if I just had 1 second more. So there you go, guys. That is Jason Todd versus Junko Enoshima. Once again, I'd like to thank Tom Hibbert for this Patreon request, as well as continued patronage. And you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.